Oh, yes, I do have to record for today. Yeah, I did finish the Mark of Athena. I finished it on Thursday, not Wednesday, but I finished it Thursday morning. And now I'm reading The Notebook because I do not have House of Hades yet. And I'm hoping I can find it either today or tomorrow at Second Charles. Yeah. So, you see there's a big gaping hole up here, and you see there's books here. So I'm guessing you can tell by now that as I said for several weeks now, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for this, and I have everything set up to being able to read the summaries and everything, and I'm going to try my best to get everything out there without spoilers. I actually wrote all of the summaries from my head. I did not use anything from the back really, except when it says one choice, and I was using that as something to tie it with the books and whatever. And I wrote summaries for all three of those, and I didn't get any responses for doing the add-on book or not, but I'm gonna do it anyway just to have it out there already. I know there's a few more add-on books, but I don't have them myself. So if I ever do get them, I will eventually review them and put them up. I'm actually really hoping that this video will help me get some closure on this story. So I am going to go over these books separately, or as separately as I can. I'm going to try and do it and not bleed in other parts of the other books into certain ones. I'm going to put timestamps in the description, seeing how that works. I don't know if that's going to help with anything, but I hope it does. I'm going to put timestamps when I do different books, when I finally transition over to the next book or the next one. And I have some things I want to talk about, some things in the books. I want to talk to you about the movies and whether you should watch them or not. So I have all types of things I want to talk about, and I'm really hoping I can do this without breaking out in tears, and I don't think I will. I think I figured out how to not do that. I'm really trying not to scare you away from this book trilogy because it really is amazing. It's just one of those stories that you get so invested in and you love the characters and everything, to the point that when something drastic happens, your whole world collapses even though it's not your own. And I like reading those types of books. I have no idea why. I like to put myself through this torture that's never ending, I can never get rid of, but I do it. And I really don't know why, but I hope you do give this book series a chance. I have been trying to get some of my friends to read it and get them interested. It is really good. I just want to warn you on the fact that if you don't like getting upset, that is there. But I don't really know what to tell you, but I really hope you do try and read it. So I wrote all the summaries myself, as I had said, and there wasn't really a summary on the first one. And the other ones had summaries, but I completely just forgot they existed, and I didn't want to take from the summaries, so I told myself in my brain and convinced myself there's no summaries on them, so write them yourself. So I feel they came out pretty well, and they're pretty long, but it does get a lot of the information out that you need to get you hooked on it, I guess. So I have them all here. I'm going to go ahead and read them. So I haven't said the names. For Divergent, the very first book, this is the summary I have for you. Every year, all the 16-year-olds in each faction take a test that determines which faction they fit in with the most. They can either follow it or choose their own path. This year, Beatrice Pryor's test went different than things usually go. She was born in abnegation, but she feels she has never fit in there. She makes many unexpected choices and makes new discoveries that could destroy everything. She has no choice on if she stops things or not because it is instantly thrown at her. Lots of choices have to be made, and quickly. So this is not the best out of all of them, but it is a decent summary that I have for you that gives you a kind of hook onto it, I guess. And actually, I have a version of this that has a lot of extra stuff in the back that I think is pretty cool. So there's oh my goodness, there's so many pages. Okay, so there's a Q&A, quotations that inspired Divergent, Veronica Roth's Divergent playlist, so I'm guessing different books she's talking that helped her with this. Oh, books and songs. So songs connecting with different feelings of the characters and different scenes. Discussion questions. So that's basically if you were to read this in a book group or something like that, that would be what those are for. And there's actually writing tips from Veronica Roth that I actually took into mind and read them because I really want to become a writer. And I read them and they were actually pretty helpful in what I've been trying to write. And there's Veronica Roth talks about utopian worlds, which is basically this is what this said, and this is like dystopian. I don't exactly remember the definitions. I will put them on the screen for you. And then she said faction naming with Veronica Roth. It's her talking about how she chose the names. She wanted them to go with it, mean what each faction is, but also sound cool. And so there's, I don't even remember anymore. How many factions, Lana? How many factions are there? Because Lana's brain does not want to work. 5. I knew it. I knew it was 5. So it's abnegation, which they rely on sharing and careness, loyalty, that kind of thing. No, that's amity. Never mind. Abnegation is being selfless and doing things for others, thinking of others before yourself. So yeah, and amity is sharing, kindness. They sound like peppy high school girls. Well, the girls do. that's amity. Candor is honesty. They favor and honor the truth, and they just want honesty. Basically, that's it. Dauntless is fearless. So you're basically just really, really brave is what dauntless is. And erudite is intelligence. So that's the different factions. There's a faction quiz results, and faction manifestos, which is basically the rules and guidelines to what the factions started out as and what they were supposed to mean. And then there's just the sneak peek of Insurgent, which is the next book. The faction quiz, I will talk more about that in the end of the video. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you about Insurgent. Let me pull up the summary. Get the book. We need to hold the book when we read the summary. So Insurgent, after the battle that was caused and set up by the erudite and dauntless in secret, Triss is so shaken up she can barely think straight. She made so many split-second decisions that some of them are haunting her. So she has to pull herself back together so she, her friends, and her boyfriend Tobias get away safely. They all have to work together and travel to other factions for help. The erudite are planning something big. They want to control all of the people in the city, and they will do whatever it takes. And Triss will do whatever it takes to stop them. More choices must be made, and a single choice can change everything. So that is the summary I have for Insurgent. And what I have noticed, actually I've totally forgot that this existed until I just looked at the book, is that each of the books have a symbol for one of the factions for the most part. So this is supposed to be Dauntless. This is Amity. And I don't exactly know what the next one is. I will show it to you once I pull it up for the summary and read that. But they all have got certain things, and things on the cover, the titles, they all tie into what is happening into the book, and they are mentioned. So what I have for Allegiant is another long summary. It looks long on my computer, but it's probably really short when I'm saying it. I have no idea. But here is Allegiant, which water, I cannot remember if it's erudite or candor is the water. I do not remember. But that is Allegiant. After working with an unlikely ally and a secret video was unleashed to the public, there's chaos everywhere. Triss is put on trial along with others so that her innocence can be proven. Eventually, she and her friends break out along with Tobias and some others. They climb over the wall that holds everyone in the city and find that there's a whole new place out there. Things she has never seen before within the walls of the city. They find a place in which they find out people set up the city as an experiment, and they have minds just as much twisted as the people within the walls. More choices, more journeys, more sacrifices have to be made. So, by the way, my voice kind of cracked at the end of that. I'm guessing you figured out this is the one that destroyed me because it's also the last one of the actual trilogy kind of thing. The whole story that's mainly based. And this one kind of destroyed me. The story is amazing. I cannot express this enough. It is an amazing storyline, and I love it. I love the dystopian kind of things like that. Like, it's set in the future where the world is a mess, and everything, their minds, people who think they are in charge, or they are made in charge, but they act like they own everything, and the little people within the community build up to take them down. And I like that type of thing, and it's amazing when they mix romance. But this, I cannot tell you more that this is actually way better than The Hunger Games, in my opinion. I really love this series and everything that went on with it, except for like a few things because they were just evil things that Veronica did. Yeah, Veronica Roth is the author. That's why I keep saying Veronica. Okay, yes. So, yeah. And so, yeah, I keep saying so, yeah, I need to stop. The next book is actually not a part of the series itself, but it is add-ons to the story. It is a little bit of extra stuff, a little bit of add-ons, as I keep saying, and it's all from Tobias' point of view. And it starts off with him before he met Triss, before he went over to Dauntless, all the way to the end of the story, and after this ends, it goes all the way to after the end of the story, and it talks about some things there too. I don't really want to give you a summary because this one, if I gave it a summary, it would spoil things, and I can't figure out a way to actually not do that. But this is about Tobias, and it's called For a reason, and you will figure it out when you read the very first book. And I don't want to tell you because I feel like that is a spoiler because it ties into a lot of things in the book trilogy. So, yeah. Also, I said I would talk about the quiz. So, the quiz actually is a quiz Veronica made herself. It is a faction quiz with 7 questions. And I thought it was nearly impossible to get Divergent, because Divergent means you got several different options as which faction you fit into best. Well, I had all of my friends, my mom and my sister, my younger sister, do it. And one of my friends and my younger sister got 2 different factions in their answers. So it is possible. And if there was another question or 2, they would probably get 3, because I don't think it counts as Divergent till 3. I'm not sure about this. It can be 2, so they were basically Divergent with this test, and I didn't think it was possible for that to happen since there was an uneven amount of questions. But it was. I actually took this quiz and I put it into a Google Forms like the one that I made for when you recommend books for me to read. Well, I made it and I sent them to my friends, but I made a different version for you to take. And it tells you the instructions in the beginning, and you just answer the questions, and once you submit it, a thing pops up and it gives you all the different factions and their meanings and how you got into that, what that faction's main focus is on. And what I did for my friends with the one I made for them is they would answer the questions, I'd look over their answers, and then I would email them or text message them their results. And that's how that worked. But since I'm not going to collect your email and stalk you and go and find you and tell you about this, instead, the instructions are there that you should write them down. Write down your answer choices as you click them. And then once you submit, it tells you all the different ones and which answer choice, which ones you got the most, matches up with this faction. I did it that way so you could get your answer, but then also so I could see I'm curious what was the faction that you got when you took the test. I may do a small little video for a Wednesday thing at some point of me going through and looking at the different faction submitted answers I got. It all depends if you're okay with that. I just wanted to go through and look at them, but I can look at them and wait and do it as a recorded short video. I don't know yet. I could do that. I could either do it next week after the video is posted Friday, or I could do it the week after so I can give enough time for people to watch the video and do the quiz. It all depends on what you think is best. I'm going to leave this to you people. Things I forgot to do now is how long to read. I have the bookmark that I'm going to pull out in a second, the rating, and the age range. So I'm going to start off with the age. So this is a teen book, so this would be 13 and up, because there's a lot of things that go on. There's a lot of violence, there's the romance, there's, I think, a little cussing. I'm not exactly sure. I do not remember, but I think there's a little bit. And there's a lot of different things that go on, and I feel like this is definitely a teen book. It is also a rated 18 book on several different things, because this is a very popular book series. I really hope you read it. So the rating, I'm telling you, it is actually much better than the Hunger Games. And to be honest, I don't remember what rating I gave to the Hunger Games, but it's going to be a little higher than that rating because I cannot remember to save my life what the rating for the Hunger Games was. And I'm pretty sure when I did that, I erased it on my thing because the Google Doc was getting too long and I didn't want to keep all of that summaries. So yeah, I erased it and I don't have that anymore. So yeah. I don't remember what I did for the rating. So if you remember, tell me in the comments, please, because I'm way too lazy to go and watch that video and figure out what I gave the rating for the whole series. We'll just say the Divergent has a higher rating than that, okay? Good. Reading, well, it took me a little over a week to read each book of the trilogy, and maybe a few days to read 4. 4. Not all 4. The book 4. It did take a while because they are pretty big books, but I did read in chunks and on weekends actually. I usually don't read on weekends that much because I like to use that time at night when I stay up super late to watch videos or play a game, something, instead of reading, because that's like one of the only times I get to do that unless I play on my Xbox during the day on the weekend. And it all depends, and I just want to do that then. Sometimes I do read, like when I'm reading the Notebook. Actually, not the Notebook, I haven't read on the weekend yet, but Heroes of Olympus. I was reading those a little bit on the weekend just to get it done because I really wanted to finish it and get it done on time so that I could get the next book. And if it was even there, Second and Charles, I cannot speak. But yeah, and I do read on the weekend sometimes, but it's very rare that I do so. But when I did this, I was reading every night on the weekends, basically, just so I could get it done because it's an amazing series, and it was so grabbing, and I was hooked from the moment I started reading it, basically. And there's so many twists and turns and drama, and oh, I think this happened, oh no, this happened instead. It's so good. And there's times where I couldn't help but just grin. Don't you have books like that where you just can't help but grin at something that happened and you're just laying there smiling for a minute because it's just the most amazing thing ever? I really love when that happens, especially when it happened in The Fault in Our Stars when I was reading for that 3-hour time frame that I was reading that book, and I finished and was crying all the way through that. There was a few times where I just grinned while tears rolled down my face because I was crying, but then also they did something funny, and so I was just grinning so big because it was so funny and cute that whatever happened that I just couldn't help but grin. I am rambling. So next, no. Bookmark, Lana. Bookmark. So, this bookmark, I don't think I put much work into it. And I asked my mom what I should do for it. And I was thinking of Divergent. And so, I did this. And I split the words, kind of. And you can see, like, they're off a little bit. And it's like, I slid up the other side. And some of the letter was cut off. Well, I did this. And my mom was like, you didn't make new ones for the other ones? I said, no. You don't do that. You make a bookmark for the entire series and use it for each book. Why would you make a different bookmark for each of the books? That makes no sense whatsoever to me. But it's the Divergent Trilogy. And she was like, weren't you going to change it to like Insurgent, Allegiant? No! It's the Divergent Trilogy. So you have the bookmark that goes for each of the books. Okay, now we can go to the book that I have for next week. I actually have no idea what it is because I didn't look, so I just have the paper here to look at for you. Yeah, I had to get a new piece of paper for my wall because when I finished on a Neptune, that was the last line on my paper, and I didn't want to write on the back because I'm writing with pen, and I didn't want to leak through because it does that sometimes. So down here, so it says Michael Vey, but I can't do Michael Vey because Michael Vey is a series, and I only read the first book because my friend let me borrow it. It is actually pretty good. I have the last two, but I have not read any of the others, and I do not own any of the others. So there's that. But afterwards is a book trilogy also that was actually really good. The first book is Angel Fall, then World After, and End of Days, which are all by a woman named Susan. But her last name is 2 capital E's. And I just call her Susan Heeeeey, or the lady with the 2 E's. Because I could never figure out how to say it, and my mom looked it up, and apparently it's Yee. That's how you say it. So that's kind of a strange last name. But that is this series right here, which it was just and after reading it, and now I'm watching a TV show called Supernatural, they are actually very similar, a storyline. So now I really love it. And then after that, oh goodness, we're not reviewing To Kill a Mockingbird. I read that for school, but put it on here to count as a book I read. I am not reviewing that because I hated reading it. Ooh, Roseblood. So after we do the Angel Fall trilogy, I will be doing Roseblood. So yeah, that was a really good one too. Yeah. So there's all I have for you. I've talked about the three books in the trilogy. I've talked about the add-on book. I told you all the things on the extra. I will put the quiz that I made for you in the description for this video so that you can take it at some point and see what faction you fit into. I tell you actually what mine is in that message too, because I felt it was only fair that I get to know what your faction was, that you get to learn mine that I got. And I at first didn't agree with it, with what I got, but now that I think about it, I totally agree. Because how I think about things in movies and TV shows and books, I totally agree. Because everything in my mind works that way. So you will get what I mean when you take the test and I tell you my faction. And I really hope this video helped and that you really enjoy this book series. So fly you high, Overlanders.
Okay, so I lied. The video is not over. I have some more things to talk about. So I said in the beginning I would talk about the movies and whether you should watch them or not based on like what I think in my opinion, and I didn't do that because I was there for so long and I had totally forgot to write it down in my outline that I was reading off my computer because I thought I would remember, but apparently I didn't. And so I'm just gonna quickly tell you what I think about the movies. So the movies, in my opinion, sucked because they changed so much and they took out things that were amazing in the book, and it just really bothered me. And there were certain little details that bothered me that they changed, but I understand certain things have to be changed for the movie. But what really messed me up was the last movie, is that they spared the hearts of the people. See, I can't tell you what happened because that's a huge spoiler, but all I can say is they spared the hearts of the people. And I really wish that they had put it in there because it destroyed me when I read the books. And I was really hoping that the movies would help with some closure, but they didn't. They just made everything worse. And then I was doing some research, and apparently there was supposed to be a fourth movie. Well, there isn't actually a fourth book it's a trilogy. So it's got 3 books. So they were actually going to make a 4th movie, but it was canceled, and I don't remember what they said why, but I'm hoping it was because the people who read the books got mad at them because they seriously messed up on the last movie they did. And what were you going to do in a 4th movie? Because they just missed one thing they didn't do. Well, they missed a lot of things, but one big thing they missed. They completely changed it. And that's what really bothered me, is that they changed it and they didn't add it in, and it's really aggravating. So yeah, that is what I was trying to say. And so I guess in my opinion, don't watch the movies, but if you just want to see how aggravating and annoying they changed it after you've read the books, I guess you could watch them. I totally forgot what I watched them on, but I think it's costs money to watch them, like maybe a few dollars for one. But just saying, it's out there, just they're not great, and they are terrible compared to the amazing books. And if you choose to watch them, sure. But I usually like to watch the movie version of the books to see how it was adapted into the movie and what they changed. And sometimes I'm okay with it. Most of the time I'm very disappointed. This one I was just angry. Very angry. So I guess now this is Fly You High, Overlanders.